Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm your host, Bob DeMarco. Coming up, a new knife from James Brand. Actually, it's just a larger knife. Off-grid knives. I have a new one in my collection. And we take a look at our favorite guilty pleasure knives. Now, when I opened up my cabinet and decided, on what I would pull out for the guilty pleasure knives, I decided it could be about 99% of them. To be 100% honest with you, it could be 99% of them because, I don't really use them much. And when I carry them, it's a rare occasion anyway. But I have all of these knives and I have a lot of them out tonight and still furthermore in the cabinet. So, Caleb, how's it going? I know what you're talking. I know you know what I'm talking about, sir. And Michael Morgan, good to have you here, as always. Dave, how's it going, man? Cool dagger. Dave's been presenting some really cool knives lately, especially that recent dagger. Ketmook, nice to have you here, sir. Hope you're enjoying that Shining Mountain Bowie. I just saw. Oh, I can't remember his name now. Just did a really cool review of it. Choir Boys did a great review of that Shining Mountain Bowie. Mr. Fileto, how's it going, sir? How's it going, fellow blade lovers? He says, finally tuned in on time. Great to have you here, sir. So let me take this opportunity to say your Winkler knives are still safe with me. I will be making that video in the next couple of days and getting them back in the mail to you because I'm starting to feel guilty and starting to feel like possession is 9/10 of the law. Just kidding, of course. Nav Sergeant, what's up, man? Great to have you here, Mister. Those will be on the way back to you, though. In all seriousness. Hello, fellow knife junkies, says Blade Hobby. Blade Hobby, good to have you here. I have a number of knives on loan with me, and my video production has slowed, but that's about to change. Hey, how's it going? It's great to have you here, sir. Speaking of which, I just had out my lion steel knife and almost had it out on my guilty pleasures table, but then I realized I shouldn't. Caleb, I don't feel guilty for liking any of these knives. Well, I don't blame you, sir. I don't blame you. I don't feel guilty for liking any of them. It's not the liking part that's the problem. It's the what do you call it? What do you want to say? It's the owning them when you don't need them. It's the buying them. James, good to have you here. James Moore in the house, sir. Good to have you. Ryan, Northcote, good to have you here. Eden and Bomb at Jim. Mr. Fileto, no problem. Take your time, Bob. Show them some loving. Yeah, not too much loving because, oh my God. The pick really gets me. I love that thing. Walt, hey, good to have you here, Walt. Favorite guilty pleasure knife, Formax Scout. That was all right. Well, since you're going there, I'll see your Formax Scout, and I'll raise you a signature 6-inch Chris that I haven't found a need for quite yet, though I'm sure it will present itself one of these years. But that's what I'm talking about. That's a little preview for the guilty pleasure knife. But first, I want to show you what I was carrying today. And you know what? I think I'm on a big old hinderer jag. I think that's what's happening. Today, I had my XM18 Warncliffe. And if you'll look, I didn't clean off the blade. So you can see I sharpened a number of the girls' pencils whilst doing homework. Figured I could make myself useful that way if I couldn't help them figure out their math. But I decided I'd leave it on there to show you that I use my knives. Hashtag use your shit right there. That's me. So today I carried this. I've been loving my my other XM18, so I decided to show this one, this Tri-Way, some love. I do like this on the Tri-Way pivot, but I gotta say, not having bearings on a hinderer is definitely not a deal breaker in my mind. My other one is my other ones are just that straight. What do they use? Silicone. That works great. Chad, good to have you here, sir. Good evening. What are you carrying, Walt? It's the discretionary spending. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Could be going to the college fund, but instead, Chad says, glad to hear the 4-inch Chris broke in good. Yes, it did. It did break in well. It did break in well. All that being said, I actually I want to retract. I don't want to retract, but I want to say, like, don't ever let this habit, fun as it is, addictive as it is, get in the way of doing things like putting money away for college and all that stuff. That's the stuff that comes first. This is the icing on the cake. That's how you got to look at it. I made a lot of stupid decisions when I was younger, and well, I've learned from them. Oh man, I love that hinderer, as do I. I love this hinderer. This is great. I love the JG10, and I have to say it reminds me of a 3-inch Warncliffe XM18 that Randy Johnson used to show off. You remember Randy Johnson on YouTube? Incognito, good to have you here. I'll do you one better. Guilty pleasure knife, Raja 2. Raja 2, great knife. Great knife. Thought about pulling that out, but that was a gift. So, I put all these little rules and stipulations on these little things. Let me show you one that I did put on. I'll raise your Raja 2 and add you a Luzon. Now, the Luzon is a guilty pleasure knife because, well, I'll tell you in a minute. But first, let me show you what I also carried with this XM18, and then I'll tell you why that Luzon is a major guilty pleasure in my book. Along with that, I carried this beautiful case here. I'm going to hold it right about here. Pocket worn CV Peanut. CV stands for chrome vanadium, so that's their carbon steel. It gets wickedly sharp. This came to me. I bought it used off of Blade Forums. It came extremely sharp and nicely patinaed, so I just left it. Got great walk and talk, and both blades are just incredibly sharp. Use this to open up a package to for a new knife that came in today. So yeah, what else? A couple other things, I'm sure. I just don't remember exactly what they were. But yeah, these are the ones I carried today. But let's talk about these guilty pleasure knives as you tell me what you were carrying in your pocket, because this to me right here, the reason I consider this one of my ultimate guilty pleasures is it was inexpensive. It was a knife that I saw that I was like, I'm never, ever going to carry that. It's a 6-inch knife. Hey, Chris, great to have Blade Ogre in the house. And in the house, my God. 1997 called, and they miss you. Scott N., great to see you, Scott. And the materials, it's 6 inches of 8CR13 MOV. Is that what we need? It could be, but at this point, I already had a host of big, like this Recon one with XHP steel, etc. And maybe I didn't need a giant piece of 8CR13 MOV, but I still got it because it was inexpensive and I liked the way it looked. So guilty pleasure knife right there. All right. So, knives. We're talking about knives. Let me tell you about next week's Gentleman Junkie giveaway knife. This thing is cool. This is from a company from the Czech Republic that I believe is somewhat new, like the Czech Republic, called Acta Non Verba, ANV. And I can only imagine that in Latin, that means actions, not words. And I keep saying that, and I keep forgetting to look it up afterwards. But it kind of seems like that might be what it is. This is the Z300. Hey, Kyan, great to have you here. Greetings, Bob and everyone. Great to have you here. Hero Sticks, excellent to have you here again and again. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate that, that you tune in. And one of these days, I have to have you go to TheKnifeJunkie.com/join, turn the camera on yourself, and come on and actually talk to me. That would be great. I'd love to meet you in person, virtual face-to-face. So the Acta Non Verba Z300, next week's Gentleman Junkie giveaway. Such a cool looking knife. I mean, to me, This thing looks like a shark. I mentioned it last time. You have the obvious, this drop point blade has an obvious resemblance. You are correct. Action, not words. Excellent. Thank you, sir. I mean, if anyone's going to know, it's going to be Dave or my dad, but I have a feeling my dad is snoozing at this point. And Dave is he's a man of the world. He's a very smart guy. And he also knows his knives. And I think he knows his Latin. Hero Stick says, I'm loving the Actinon Verbas. Thanks for introducing me to them. They have a slick little slip joint. I think I'm going to try. Hey, you're welcome. And Dave, who I was just talking about, is the one who introduced me to them. So I'm glad, definitely check out Dave's channel, by the way. This Old Sword Blade Reviews. And man, he has just been putting up a lot of videos on some really cool knives. So be sure to check out Dave. Actually, this is a knife that Dave bequeathed the channel for giveaway purposes. And tell me that doesn't look like a shark, like complete with a belly and then the tapering towards the tail fin. You know, the tail is just kind of not visible in this view of the shark. The blade shape looks like a whale's head. Beautiful. Well, we are in agreement that it definitely has an fierce aquatic animal look. Something about this thing for sure. Another cool thing is the flipping action. Yes, Mako. It's got the lines of a Mako shark. You're right, sir. You're right. I would agree with you on that. And it's got a little bit of lume right there in the flipper tab, so you can locate your knife in the dark. It's got that deeper than deep wire carry pocket clip. Very nice liner lock. And then everything here, I'm not sure if you can tell. I can't see if you can tell, but everything here, like around the flipper tab, even in the choil on top right here on this little landing, everything is rounded and crowned, kind of like an Italian knife. So nice. This is a beautiful knife. So anyway, this is the Gentleman Junkie giveaway knife. We're giving away next week for, if you're a Gentleman Junkie, that's the $10 level of support on Patreon. Your name goes on the wheel of destiny. We spin it, and then boom, we discover who wins. And that's what the winner gets tomorrow. Oh, by the way, that's a G10 handle. I don't know if I mentioned that. Milled and sculpted G10, and it comes in a beautiful presentation box, which is across the room from me at present. So please be sure to join us on Patreon. It would be greatly appreciated, just like Christopher Wolf. Christopher Wolf is a brand new Gentleman Junkie, so I'm going to mention him right here. And I'm going to mention him on Wednesday's podcast because I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Christopher. I say this every time. Jim and I are flattered that people would trade their money for some of this. So greatly appreciated, sir. Christopher Wolf, ladies and gentlemen, a new Gentleman Junkie, the latest name to go on the Wheel of Destiny, which will spin next week right here after a considerable amount of chit chat. All right, so let's get on to this favorite guilty pleasures knives conversation. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you were carrying in your pockets today. And then I want to hear what your favorite guilty pleasure knives are. But let's start with the pocket check, I guess. I already had a chance to show off mine, so show off yours. I want to know what you carried. It's always cool, and it's always reassuring to know how classy my viewers are, and I can tell how classy you are by your choice of knives. Packing the Max Ace Babylon button lock today. Speaking of class, that is one cool looking knife, and the action on that looks amazingly slick. That knife, there are a couple of knives that have they don't look alike, but they look like they belong in the same family. It's that knife, the latest ZT, and the latest Jake Hoback knife. All have a similarity in the blade and in the area around the thumb stud, and I like it. It's almost clip point, almost sax, Cool blades. Walt says, can somebody explain why my high-end makers gravitate towards frame locks instead of liner locks? Well, if you ask Peter Carey, which I did, no, I'm just kidding. But Peter Carey was on the podcast, and he was talking about how he way prefers liner locks. And I asked him why. I thought frame locks was where it's at, and he's like, in his opinion, it's harder to make a well-tuned, a well-tuned liner lock than it is, and a well-tuned and stout liner lock that can withstand abuse than it is a frame lock, which gets reinforcement from your grip and other issues. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an opportunity to work with two pieces of titanium, two pieces of the same material. I don't know. Had the ProTech SNG and a Delica. ProTech SNG, you say? Well, that's a great combination, first of all, Caleb, because you had an automatic and you had a manual, you had a button lock, and you had a back lock. You had an automatic, all these different steels, locks, mechanisms, brands. That's important in multiple knife carry. You don't want to carry the same knife and the same blade grind and all that stuff. So nicely done, sir. I happen to have one of these as my guilty pleasure knife close at hand, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. NAF Sergeant had a Robert Carter custom tech and artisan cutlery sea snake. Okay, artisan cutlery sea snake. I love it. The Michael Emler fixed blade. But Robert Carter custom tech. I don't know what the custom tech is, but I do know Robert Carter, and I know that his knives are, wow, awesome. Nicely done, sir. That's all I can say. QSP Woodpecker and a Hinderer XM18 3.5-inch Bowie. Love it. Love the Hinderer XM18. As you know, I had a 3.5-inch Bowie in British Racing Green, which was nice. I ended up trading it because I wanted an XM24. And so I did that. But the Bowie on the 3.5-inch on mine, I swear, it looks like the person who was sharpening it right as they got to the tip got a phone call, put a little extra pressure. And so you have this really nice grind all the way to the tip, and it got real wide right at the tip. Frankly, I got to say, I don't know if I'd let it through quality control, but I guess it didn't really change the performance of the blade. But in any case, so I had to get rid of it. You're dead to me with your grind. Michael said Tucson TS224 in M390. I don't know what it is, but I know I like it because every Tucson I see, I just think it's cool as hell. And a Tie and C, with titanium and carbon fiber, and a buck 55. I love the buck 55. That's a great little knife. I guess it's one down. Is it one down from the 112? I think it is. One down from that 112, which I love. I love these knives. I just kind of wish they were lighter. I got to say, I'd carry it way more often. Kevin Nelson. Kevin, good to have you here. Been carrying the Finch 1929. I love the Finch 1929. That made my list last week, this past podcast, for one of my most carried. I've been carrying that thing a lot since I got it. Great little knife. I love that big fat-bellied clip point. And actually, the shape of the blade reminds me a little bit of a scalpel. It's also very, very sharp. The action is awesome. I'm interested, Kevin. Let me know what handle material you have. I have the Nightcrawler cut bone, and it's so cool. Really does look like a Nightcrawler. Caleb says tomorrow I carry the Essie Hungless while wheeling. Very nice. The Essie Hungless. That's a great knife. Here's a RTAC 2. This is kind of the precursor, right? This is the Meta Hungless, or no, this is the Proto Hungless, I think. I love this knife. So when you say wheeling, do you mean for wheeling? I will admit I'm a northeastern suburbanite, so I'm not sure if I know what wheeling is, but it sounds a lot more fun than being a northeastern suburbanite. Sean M says, brandishing the Spyderco Shaman in all black G10. Nice. Love this blade since I am a shaman, he says. Well, I think the Shaman is one of the coolest Spydercos I've never gotten. And I don't know, at this point, it's almost like I'm embarrassed. So to get one at this point is to somehow admit my failing up until this point. But I do like it in that natural canvas micarta with whatever cool blade steel they packed in there. Love it. Zach, good to have you here. Happy Thursday to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the well wishes. I love a great liner lock, says James Moore. And yes, I could see that. I kind of tend to think that some of your finer knives have liner locks because it's an opportunity, or would have liner locks theoretically. This is not scientific, this theory. I didn't research it. So, but I could see how some of your very, very finest of knives would be liner locks because it's an opportunity to kind of work equally on both sides of the handle and really let the handle shine. I think when I mentioned Peter Carey in his interview said that he thought liner locks, unless this was our conversation afterwards, I'm not sure, but he was basically saying liner locks, kind of easy to be sloppy with, or something like, I can't remember exactly what he said. But I think what he was alluding to was handles are such a big part of what he loves to do that when you do a frame lock, you're only working on one side of the handle. That's not true. Obviously, you're working on the lock side too. But in terms of doing something exquisite, chances are it's not going to be happening on the other side. Today's carry is my Boker Lateralis and my Boker Squale. Two makers I wish I could own a custom. Oh, Blade Hobby, I hear you 100%, especially the Squale. To me, when I was saying the finest knives, this and that, and liner locks, I was thinking of Charles Marlowe. His knives to me are the pinnacle. To me, like, I think more about getting custom fixed blades. That's just kind of more my taste right now. But when I think of one custom knife I would love to have, it is absolutely anything by Charles Marlowe, but especially a Squale. I love the way that knife looks. Good taste, sir. Good taste. Scott N. Victorinox Mini Champ. That is a great knife. I keep my Mini Champ in my in the car, in the little thing between seats, and it gets used a lot for a lot. Love that knife. Good choice. Harn's Harvest. What a fine choice. And a brand new Nordsmith canteen. Nice. So the Harn's Harvest, unless I'm being presumptuous, is the one that you won here at the Knife Junkie birthday bash as a giveaway. And the Nordsmith canteen. Nordsmith knives are David C. Anderson's line of knives, and he has LT Wright making them. And so you got a canteen. That is such a cool knife. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. GEC 86 oiled field jack. Love the 86. And the Medford Nuck pry tool bottle opener. The Arctic Storm. I like the look of the Arctic Storm. PM2 again, along with the usual 3 or 4. Along with the usual 3 or 4. What is that? Why am I feel like I should know that. And I know you'll answer, and I'll be like, oh. But along with the usual 3 and 4. Do tell, sir. Do tell. Sean M. Doesn't anyone collect Becker blades anymore? I have quite a few. The Becker Necker was cool. I had a regretful moment where I gave a Becker knife away. It was kind of easy come, easy go. It was the one, I can't remember the number of it, but it was early. I mean, it was like it was in like, say, 2007 or 8 or something like that. And it had an upswept kind of blade, kind of like maybe a Persian or kind of maybe like a fillet, but it definitely was fat, like one of the Becker outdoor knives. It wasn't like a fillet knife width, but it had that sort of upswept shape. And in a moment of intoxicated generosity, I gave it away. And I've regretted it ever since because it's not one that you see often. So does anyone collect Becker knives? I think so. I know that they had their super hot day, but right now, what's super hot are folders still. I mean, I don't mean still. I mean, folders probably first and last and always because they're easily carried, and it's not as easy to walk around with this, obviously, in this day and age. But anyway, I think people do still prize their Beckers, and I think you can probably find a forum on Blade Forums for Beckers. Nick EDCer says, Nick, good to have you here with your owl face. Carried the Hoback Husky, cool knife, and I mean, just such a big damn knife. And a mini bug out. Oh, I like that because it's a ridiculous pair. Guilty pleasure knife would be my GEC BNS, beard and sausage. That's a good one. That's a good one, you hipster. But yeah, I like that. I like the Husky with the mini bug out. It's like one is optimized for big, thick, outrageous, folding pry bar, and the other is optimized for tiny, light, can't even feel it in the gym shorts. So nicely done. Professor EDC, good to have you here, sir. Good evening, everyone. Bob, Jim, glad to be here. Hope everyone is doing well. Carrying my Spidey Chef. Excellent, excellent. Spidey Chef is a good choice. What's your guilty pleasure, Professor EDC? I know you got a couple of dark horses in that collection. Mr. Fileto says, finally got my mitts on a DLC 3V8020. Nice. DLC is cool too, with red-orange scales. It's definitely going to be occupying the front pocket for the foreseeable future. Now, Mr. Fileto, man, you've got some nice knives, man. And to get a DLC 3V8020, red-orange scales, I mean, that whole thing, everything about that sounds awesome. What is the blade profile? Is it a drop point? Is it a clip point? Though I have and absolutely love and prize my Shark's Foot 80-20.5. I prize it because John Demko promised it to me after our interviews because I'm so terrible about actually getting on drops. And he's like, we've got them coming in. Just send me a reminder email. So send him a reminder. Remember how you said you'd send me? So he's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, right. And he sent it to me, and I'm grateful. However, I'm not crazy about the look of the blade. And I know it's an awesome, I've used it a lot. One way I used it was to carve the bottom of tiki torches, where I don't know what's happening in the tiki torch world these days, but they're employing some lazy fellas. Let's put it that way. I had to sharpen the bottom of they just barely decided to put an angle. So I used this, worked great. Used this for, don't remember what the application was, but it was this kind of cutting and worked great. However, the Shark's Foot blade, I don't know, leaves a little to be desired. But so, Mr. Fileto, all of that is my long way of saying, what blade shape did you get on your new 80-20? Blade Freak, good to have you here. Hey, dudes, carrying my XM18 Fullard Spear today. Nice, very nice. I was carrying my my Warncliffe with the Jade G10 handle scales. Love it. Let's hear it for the XM18s. Kevin Nelson says, I have a bark handle on my Finch. It's the one. Oh, yes, Kevin. Oh my gosh. That's right. Yeah. That dark brown micarta. Beautiful. That knife is awesome. Kevin, I think before you were up as Kevin N, and I don't know. Whatever. It's I'm sorry. Ketmuk says, I'm going camping this weekend. Can't wait to test it out. Cool. Incognito says, my EDC is the Vaquero and a blacked out Delicafor. So just so you know, Ketmuk is talking about my my Shining Mountain Bowie. And the reason I laugh is because that's the only time it's ever going to get used. But thank God it's going to be in some sort of a outdoorsy context. My EDC is the Vaquero, as always, and an excellent choice, incognito. And the blacked out Delica 4. Nice on the blacked out, by the way. Four-wheeling, off-roading, gonna go deep in some mud. That sounds fun, man. That sounds a lot of fun. I mean, it's tree therapy, or whatever they call it in Japan, tree bathing, just to get out there and get some nature, even if it is in the mud. Guilty pleasure knife equals every knife after 300 or so. Yeah, pretty much. Or every knife that you're like, I'm going to sell this one as soon as the new one comes in, and then the new one comes in. You're like, but they look so good together. Michael says, smash that like button. All right, people, smash the like button. Don't make Michael tell you. Let me tell you. Smash the like button. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for reminding me. Sean says, I've loved the Boker Kalashnikov in my EDC rotation for quite a while. So, now that is a large family of knives, the Boker Kalashnikov. Which one are you talking about? Since you mentioned it, I just so happen to have one right here. And this was a gift by Lavender Pants, who I have not seen in a while. Lavender Pants, how you doing, man? If you're out there. But he gave me this. It was a little too much to have around the kiddos at the time, as he explained it. So he sent it to me. And I said, my children love switchblades. So I kept it. Thank you so much. I love it. Incognito says, I like the knives the old custom makers made, like Bill Bagwell and Fitzen knives. Oh, man, Fitzen. Well, first of all, Bill Bagwell. Love them, and kind of polar opposite in terms of Bowie knives made is Fitzen knives, who was often featured in early Nut and Fancy, right? He was I guess he was a Salt Lake City knife maker, is a Salt Lake City knife maker, and sharpener and all that, and makes these giant Bowies, these just beautiful, huge, 10-pound Bowies. And Bill Bagwell was known for his very slender fighting Bowies that were meant to be very light and easy to maneuver. Kind of the opposite of Fitzen's Bowies, which are these big honking, sacrifice the bull kind of Bowies. So, cool contrast. Dave said, favorite guilty pleasure knives, Cold Steel Frenzy and Concept Kratos. Cold Steel Frenzy, love it. Such a great knife. It's like a Gnunting in your pocket. What's the Concept Kratos? Which one is the Kratos? Can't remember what that one is. But I like both. I'm pretty sure I like the Kratos too. Carried the TRM Atom with some blue gradient G Carta. Very nice. And the blue thumb stud ring. Oh, I've thought about that, about getting a thumb stud ring. Those are like rubber, right? Like little rubbery braces, rubber bands or something that you put over the. Thought about getting those. Hero says, Kep McNeshart just checked out the Nordsmith site. Really fantastic knives. Yeah, Hero, check out. We did an interview with David C. Anderson on the podcast. He talks a lot about the Nordsmith knives. He also came on one of the town halls. I can't remember which one, but we get into his stuff. So if you like his work, definitely check out those podcasts. Michael says, probably my Cold Steel Spartan. Great knife. I mean, that's kind of I don't think you should consider that a guilty pleasure, Michael. I think you should consider that a moral imperative, something that you should have in your collection. John, that fellow there, good to have you here, sir. My favorite guilty pleasure knife is the blacked out Endura half serrated and the Empress Hawk. Oh, yes, that Bob convinced me to get. Mine's upstairs. I love that Empress Tomahawk. Guilty pleasure, yes, but who knows, man? You go hiking, throw that in the backpack, and you feel fine. The blacked out Endura half serrated, so that means it's probably a what do you call it? A saber ground. I like how those look in saber ground. Peter, great to have you here at Therapeutic Edge. Peter, good to have you. I saw your StreamYard looked good, man. It looked very good. Caleb said, my guilty pleasure knife isn't a knife. It's an HEA designed saber tooth, a frame lock flipper with M390 comb instead of blade. Oh, geez, oh, Pete. I know exactly of I know what you're talking about. And that looks cool. I'm curious, man. Well, you know what? That's gauche. I'll look it up myself. But that's funny because I've seen that and I've been like, how cool would that be to have for free? Because it doesn't have a cutting edge. But it still looks cool and beautiful. And coming from them, you know, it's built great. Blade Freak says, gave my 20.5 to the old man. He loves it. That's awesome, man. That's a good son. Such a son. Good son. Blade Hobby, my guilty pleasure is no brand out the front I got from a gun show. Biggest piece of crap ever, but it's fun to play with. Exactly. And it's probably a great letter opener, you know, that kind of thing. And you'll have it for an astounding period of time for such a cheap knife. Love it. What's considered a guilty pleasure, Bob? All right. Well, so I guess what I have to say is, you know, I always put all these rules and stipulations on, and I think ultimately it's up to you what you consider a guilty pleasure. But for me, it has to do with I'm not just picking knives that I'm picking knives that I bought kind of knowing I would never use, kind of knowing that I might not even carry them. A lot of them I have and do, but not enough to justify their purchase. Here's another example. Here's one. The Medford Praetorian. You know, I like this knife, and I really wanted it when I got it, and then I got it from a friend, so there's a little bit of sentimental value in it, and it's got a glass breaker, and it's got a really cool blade. Everything about it is cool, but I never ever carry it. And you know, it's a pocket hog, and it's quite thin, and it's not really that heavy. But so this is definitely a guilty pleasure knife because you know, it did not come for cheap. And I kind of knew, even as I was doing it, that I was doing something wrong. It was just wrong. Just because, you know, I was spending a bit of cash on something that I knew I wasn't going to carry and definitely wasn't going to use hard or anything like that. So that's the best I can do for you, Professor. What's your guilty pleasure? I mean, how do you define it? Peter says, my guilty pleasure is the Samir Knives Shepherd. CTS XHP, but who knows? It's a huge titanium beast. Okay, what is this knife? I might have to look it up. The Samir Shepherd. It is, I mean, somehow, for some reason, I think immediately of the Midgard's Messer knife. I'm just gonna tap it in here, see if it pops up. Wait, is that it? All right, I'm not sure which one it is. I don't think I put it in here right, but I don't want to be antisocial and spend my time looking things up. But tell me a little bit about that knife and why it's your guilty pleasure. Was it that it was too much and you knew you weren't going to use it, or is it that it has no use, or it's a wall hanger? Who knows? Only the 20.5 comes in a shark's foot, right? Not the actual 20s. You a couple of I have seen custom ground AD 20s with the shark's foot. And I don't mean to bag all over it, please. I just, you know, it's a very, very useful blade shape. It's just not as pretty as some of the others. Ooh. Oh, well, that's pretty nice, man. Guilty pleasure. Says XHP, but who knows? It's a huge titanium beast. Well, I'm curious, why wouldn't it be XHP unless this is this a company of some unknown origin? Is there something? I'm curious now about this. Snuznuz says, carrying a terribly ground duk this week. The horror is real. Viper knives, Barris drop point with canvas micarta. So is that your guilty pleasure, the Viper, or is that just the other knife you're carrying? I love that you're carrying a horribly ground duk around. Those are cool. I don't have one. I think everyone should have. Every knife collector should have a duk and what's the Japanese one? You know what I'm talking about? Higo no Kami and an open L and a couple of those like peasant knives from all around the world. They're kind of cool. Mr. Fileto says, my favorite configuration, drop point blade slotted. Very nice. Drop point blade and slotted. I still love the Lion Steel SR2 and SR1. Yeah, those are nice knives, man. And one of them, I believe, was the integral titanium, and one of them is the integral aluminum. They did do an aluminum integral version, I believe, in the SR line. Monster Racing, good to have you here. Hello, Bob and Jim. Hello, Monster Racing. Good to have you. Hope you're well. I want a Kratos. Yes, I want Kratos too. I agree. I regret selling my Spyderco Rock Cleaver. That was a mistake, Sean. That was a mistake. What a cool knife that is, the Rock Cleaver. And that's one of those knives, you know, it came out, you're like, not long for this earth. Like there won't be enough, you know, people buying it basically to have something like that stay in the inventory for too long, especially when your inventory is so huge. But I loved the look of that. And if it were larger, I would be obligated to have bought it. So I'm glad it wasn't any bigger. Kratos is the Damascus blade, tie handle, rose pattern, carbon, CG inlay. Definitely a guilty pleasure. GC. A CG. Oh my God. I've got it tonight. The Kratos. That's a clip point. Clip point, the Kratos? Hero Sticks. Yeah, small rubber ring gets a wee bit of a cushion and a bit of splash of color. $10 for 4, I think. Plus, it probably grips onto, you know, you don't have to get your thumb in such a specific position to have that thing fire open. Knives Fast says, my guilty pleasure would be my TRM Atom with Tidal Wave Damascus scales, but it may change soon if I can get a GEC 86. Oh, I like how you think, sir. Yeah, always have a moving target. You know, that guilty pleasure will someday just be, what, this whole thing? Incognito Griffin says, my number one guilty pleasure knife is the Cold Steel Gladius machete. Nice. I got my brother one of those. Every time I hold it, it feels like I feel like Conan the Barbarian. That's funny because every time I go to my brother's basement, whenever I go to visit where he lives, we escape to the basement because that's where all the tools are and all the cool stuff. And he has a bunch of cool things hanging on the wall, and one of them is that Gladius machete, and I always pull it down. And he got, you know, those machetes don't come super sharp, but he got his super sharp, and that thing is just wicked. And I love that it has that big giant counterbalance ball on the end, on the pommel. DJ Chet Cobra, good to have you here. I'm shopping for a guilty pleasure, probably a stupid large Bowie. Okay, can I make a suggestion? If you can find a Highwayman, Bark River Knives Highwayman, I think it's called. Oh my goodness, that thing. So I have the Shining Mountain Bowie, which is a giant from them. And then this thing came out, and I saw a comparison picture, and it makes the Shining Mountain Bowie look like the Shining Hills Bowie. You know, look a little bit smaller. It's a big, beautiful knife, but it's got a nice tapered, sharp front end. Very nice. Ian G, good to have you here. My guilty pleasure, Chavez Redencion 229 drop point with a skull clip and all. That sounds nice, man. And those Chavez knives are made by Riot so you know they're super awesome. Okay, got it. Thanks for clearing it up. My guilty pleasure is a custom-made kukri. Excellent. Excellent. I mean, you know, one man's guilty pleasure. I could help you justify that. If you ever need help justifying your guilty pleasures, come to me and I'll say something like, what's the point of having an off-the-shelf kukri? Or something like that. And then boom, you're justified. Christopher's Tanks. Medfords look cool, but too heavy. You know, honestly, this one here is not that heavy. It does have an interesting balance, though. It's balanced like a fighting fixed blade is right here at the first finger. But it has a feel in hand similar to, and I don't have it out here, the SOCOM Elite, which I always found to be blade heavy. Chris Wolf, hey guys, how's it going? Chris, good to have you here, sir. Chris, I mentioned you earlier. Thank you for your participation. It's greatly appreciated. So yeah, not too heavy, not too fat, I don't think. This one, but other hinderers that have been, or not hinderers, but other Medfords that have been loaned me by Dirk, Dirk Warning, have been really chunky and great to have on the desk to pick up and play with, but not something you're going to put in your pocket and run out. Zach says Benchmade Gold Class Mini Crooked River is a guilty pleasure. Benchmade 940 Osborne is EDC today. Boy, a gold class Mini Crooked River. So Zach, this gold class means it's got like Timascus and all sorts of crazy, beautiful materials on it, right? Like Damascus blade and all sorts of crazy handle materials. Am I right about that? My guilty pleasure would be the Tops El Chapo. Nice. And for folder, the Spyderco Amalgam. The Amalgam. Yeah. I'm not so crazy about the Amalgam, I got to say. But I got to say, the El Chapo, what an awesome fixed guilty pleasure. I love it. The Viper Barus is a fixed blade I'm using because I need to stop the dependency on the sea snake that I've been developing lately. I wouldn't be so hasty. To walk away from that dependency because really integrating a fixed blade, good thing. I mean, obviously, this is not news to you, but if you find something like the sea snake, maybe that means you need to be carrying it. That's all I'm trying to say. Everyone, please remember to hit that like button and show Bob and Jim our appreciation for another great live stream. Says Monster Racing. Thank you, Monster Racing. I appreciate it. Please do push the like button. And if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button. And then, every time something fantastic happens, just like this. Ninth Chamber. Good to have you here, Ninth Chamber. Don't necessarily have any guilty pleasures, but closest thing would probably be the Tops Brush Wolf. Still haven't gotten to use it, but love getting it out and admiring it. Even smells amazing. Oh my God. Okay. We got a Knife Junkie here in Ninth Chamber. Smells amazing. That's because it's 1095, right? And so it's probably got a little bit of oil on it. The Brush Wolf. That's a relatively new one from them. And man, I love the Tops knives. I've kind of sold a few recently, and yeah, I don't miss them day to day, but during conversations like this, the regret seeps in a little bit. K Mason, good to have you here. My guilty pleasure, the Spyderco Bob Lum, darn Dow. I know which one you're talking about, and well, do I? Bob Lum, I know he did a couple. I'm thinking of the one that we all know of as the Bob Lum, the leaf-shaped one with the little Chinese knife with the curved handle. Is that the Dow? Snuzz says, guilty pleasure knife is my GEC Whaler. You have a Whaler. Very nice. I just never use it. It makes me smile really big, though. And you know what? Snuzz, you're making me experience this unexpected, sinful feeling of envy. Like, Like, why does he have it and not me? I mean, you have a whaler? That's awesome, man. No, I think those things are awesome. And I think the whaler was a special gathering knife one year. So that's a great knife to have. I wish I had it instead of you. I'm just kidding. Not instead of you. I wish I had it in addition to you. How's that? Shredder, good to have you guys here. Hi, we are late. We're trying to film a Fatwood Friday. Looks like it took much longer than Ron T. Sawyer. So Fatwood Friday. That's cool. That sounds fun. Man, if I wasn't 2,500 miles away, I'd bring some hot dogs. Chad says, my guilty pleasure, the fancy Cold Steel Espada XL. That's a good guilty pleasure. I have that out here as one of mine. And actually, this is not the XL. This is just the L. But I brought this out as a comparison knife. And I was going to say that compared to this knife right here, why would I spend $40 on this knife here, which has a much lesser steel and is not something I'm going to carry, etc., etc. My guilty pleasure, Custom Knife Factory Evo 2.0. Oh, that's a good knife. Well, I should say that's a beautiful knife. Never had it. I mean, I can only assume it's awesome. I've never had a Custom Knife Factory knife. Zach, thank you, sir. So greatly appreciated for that super chat. That's awesome, man. Thank you. Hashtag DSKFS. DSKFS. Hashtag it. Am I hashtagging? All right. Chris, what? Thank you, Chris. Much appreciated, man. $5 from Chris Wolf. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the bottom of my heart. Just for that, let me show you another guilty pleasure. Gee whiz. Let's see. Right here. Here's one. Let's see. Knives Fast says, I've also been very interested in a D-Bad Preacher fixed blade. It would be a guilty pleasure for sure. D-Bad Preacher. I need to figure out what that is. This is a Lightfoot custom made knife that he made especially for me. And it was one that, I spent a considerable amount of money on that I knew I would never carry. And then you have no idea how thick this is. Here, let me put this next to the 80-20.5. Look at that. The 80-20.5 is about the size of one scale of this knife. So guilty pleasure, but also prized possession. It's a piece of knife history. Look at that. A very, very thick and chunky piece of knife history. Great action, great build, beautiful knife. This was designed by Jared von Otterloo and built by the great and powerful Greg Lightfoot. So, I mean, just great pedigree, great knife, everything about it, except just not one that I carry. It's just like, it's easier to carry this knife than this knife. Mista says, guilty pleasure knife, Jerry Moen Mongoose with mirror polish DLC. That sounds gorgeous. I don't love every Jerry Moen knife, but I love the Mongoose. And mirror polish DLC sounds awesome. The guys at Shredder said, guilty pleasure knife. Well, don't have one yet, but a Medford when it happens. Yeah, I hear that, sir. Yeah, this is a guilty pleasure. It's like, does this do anything better than any other knife? Maybe prying. Scott N., my guilty pleasure is the UTX 85 Bounty Hunter. Well, let me help you with that, Scott. Let me help you with that guilt. It's a small one, 85. That's quite small. That's right. That's 80 or it's not reduced by 85. It's 85% of the Ultratech in terms of size. So it's pretty small. And though it's a bounty hunter, well, I can't do it. Nicely done. That is a guilty pleasure. Those bounty hunter knives are cool. Chris Wolf says, I just need to get a fixed blade. I've been stuck on folders since I started my addiction. Chris. Ah, ah. We need to get you fixed up with a fixed blade. I mean, I'm wondering what your first fixed blade knife should be. You know what I think it should be, actually, and I'm being sincere about this. Is I think it should be a K-bar, like a classic USMC K-bar from K-bar, the company, or you can get an antique one, but get one you're not afraid to thrash on, and see how awesome they are, and see that that's the knife that our troops have been carrying since World War II, and it's a Bowie, so it's like so American already, and it's got that sumptuous stacked leather handle, 1095. It's easy to take care of, and it's tough. And if you do any camping or anything like that, I think you should get a K-bar. Chris, get yourself a K-bar, a classic K-bar. Yeah, yep, I'm convinced. And then I think you'll be bitten, and then maybe you'll sink into some deep guilty pleasures like this bit of stacked leather goodness, this combat stiletto, this model number 2 from Randall Made Knives. Talk about a guilty pleasure. I mean, there was never even any thought that I was ever going to use that thing, lest someone break in on me while I'm doing Thursday Night Knives. James says, one knife I love but have yet to carry or use once is my Shirogorov Custom Division F3 NS. Wow. I remember when that came out. I remember. So you have this knife, and that was like maybe 2 years ago or something. So you have this knife and you haven't used it yet. And to me, James, that's a little surprising. And not in a judgy way at all. But from the look of your pictures on Instagram, I kind of assumed that you just kind of dropped everything in your pocket and went about your day. But it's kind of nice to hear that you've got one that you're a little bit like, I love this thing. Donnie B all day. Okay. Yes, he designed some cool knives. Donnie B all day preacher, made by Kukri House in Nepal. All right. Thank you. Donnie B all day preacher. I'm going to have to check that out. DSKFS is such an awesome hashtag. The best, actually. Great job coming up with it, Zach Stuff. What is it? All right, what is it? I tried to figure it out on the fly, and I don't know. Lightfoot has awesome aesthetic. I agree with you, Christopher. I think he does too. And I got a relatively vanilla version from him, in that I love the micarta and the 154 CM, and but most of his stuff that he does is super flashy, and he actually does it in such a way that it doesn't feel like clashing patterns on the leisure suit of Mr. Furley. It's what I call Mr. Furley issues. He somehow manages to mix exotic woods with swirly Timascus kind of stuff and make it all look beautiful and unified. Not like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like with these custom folders, it's like pattern clank next to another pattern clank next to another Damascus pattern, and it's all just like, here, look at this beautiful thing. Whereas I feel like Lightfoot, who's been doing it forever, has really gotten to the point where I don't know, where he can use all these differently patterned materials to a beautiful effect. Sean M., do you own the Cold Steel Recon XL? I noticed you love the meaty blades. I just had one out. Let me show you, sir. I have this, and I also have it in Tanto. This one is XHP. The Tanto is also XHP. But a funny thing about the Tanto, which is over there in the cabinet, is that it has a different coating on the steel. This is, as you can possibly tell, kind of matte. It's kind of a matte. Let me see if I can turn this. Has kind of a matte finish. The black finish on the Recon 1 XL Tanto is shiny, satin, kind of a satin DLC. Blade Hobby says, I want to add a Cold Steel Spartan back to my collection as my guilty pleasure just because it's so wicked. You most definitely should, not only because it's wicked and it's a great knife that every household should have, but it's a recurve. And you know what? I'll tell you, I don't think recurves get adequate love. I think people are afraid of them because somehow their mind is stuck in the whole, I got to sharpen it with a flat stone thing, and I don't think that's the case. If you have some sort of a rod system, you're good to go. Northcote says, Bob, do you have an under the pillow knife? No, but I have a next to the pillow knife. I have a okay, so I have 3 knives next to the bed. One of them is a Gladius Sword by Traditional Filipino Weapons. It's awesome. It's really awesome. Battle ready, double-edged Gladius. But let's face it, someone's on top of you, choking the life out of you. You're not going to pull a Gladius out. You might pull out one of the following. One of them is the Cold Steel Master Tanto, which I've had with me since 1987 or 88. And then the other recently, I just swapped out the Mini Bush Sax, which sat right on my bedside table, by Bark River Knives with the, what do I have up there? Yeah, it is upstairs. A Bowie knife of my own making that I've showed off a bunch of times back in the day. So that's my current. It's not under the pillow, but it's next to the pillow. Actually, my biggest fear, and I've done this a couple of times and then realized and rectified the situation, but is getting in bed with a folding knife in my pocket and falling asleep and forgetting about it, having it somehow come out and open up. That is like a terrible fear of mine, and it should be a terrible fear of yours. And just always give yourself an extra pat down before you climb into bed, because if you're a nut job and you carry knives around in your pajamas or your sweatpants or your shorts or whatever you have, just be sure, because if that thing comes out while you're sleeping, it could just be a terrible mess. What was up before, Ian? I want to get to Ian, but I wanted to. Oh man, I'm addicted for life. All right, cool. All right, good. Ian G EDC says, Bob, you sir are more guilty than I, but who's counting? Also, good for you. Yeah, no doubt. It's a thick web of justifications and mental gymnastics, moral gymnastics to get me to actually allow myself to own this many knives. This is like a therapy session for me. Snuz says, I'm surprised no one has mentioned a Rockstead as a guilty pleasure yet. Maybe they're all users after all. Rockstead. I would love to have a Rockstead. If I had a Rockstead in my collection, it's quite likely I would mention it here, because those things are crazy. They're beautiful. Sean says, anyone pick up the Buck Knife 110 automatic? I never did, but I did get their anniversary knife a while back. Was the anniversary knife with special steel and that marbled carbon fiber? Am I thinking of the right thing? JN, how's it going, sir? I can't tell if I'm feeling the proper amount of guilt or what. Well, you know what, man? If you don't feel the guilt, you can't fake guilt. Everyone should have a K-bar at some point. I agree with Bob. Thank you. Yeah, I think if you're going to have one fixed blade, that's a good one. That's a good one to have. Yeah. Ninth Chamber says, in the pocket, Benchmade 945 black micarta Flytanium scales, lefty configuration. 945. Micarta Flytanium. Is the 945 the Bowie? The drop point, or not the drop point, but the clip point in the 940 handle? What's that one called? Or is that the 941? Sorry, Chris Wolf. Bark River and K-Bar. I'm on it. Yeah, Bark River. I mean, Cold Steel has some good ones too. K-Bar or Cold Steel Recon Tanto. Judson, good to have you here. Judson Morrison says, K-Bar or Cold Steel Recon Tanto. Which for pure fun? Jeez, oh Pete. Well, I think what you want me to say is Recon Tanto, because you said pure fun, and something about that seems like that's what you want me to say. But I think if you have neither, start with the K-bar. Really, start with the K-bar. Sorry, Walt's. Thank you, Walt. I appreciate it greatly. And I got to back up and say, I don't mean to give advice and say get the K-bar and then say sorry. I just mean if you're disappointed in that answer, I apologize, but get the K-bar. It's on the wall right there. Walt, thank you for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it, and it's humbling, like I said, that you would trade $5 for this. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Chris says, my guilty pleasure is the Topps Tom Brown tracker. By the way, the usual 3 or 4 are the Emerson Sheepdog Bowie, the ProTech Emerson CQC7, and the Pena. Okay, I got you. And the Pena X Bronco. Very, man. But the Tom Brown tracker, great guilty pleasure. Is there anyone out there, and Chris, this might be you, is there anyone out there who's listening or watching right now who is a legitimate outdoorsman or woman and who is maybe even a tracker? I've been hunting my whole life. I grew up in the woods. One of you guys who's ever used or seen the Tom Brown tracker, is this a corny knife? Is this thing the corniest knife design ever? And just a guilty pleasure and something interesting to be like, hey, check this out? Or do you find the Tom Brown tracker, that design, to actually be as useful as it is interesting to look at? Let me know, please. I'm dying to know what you think about that. Blade Freak says, I second the K-bar suggestion as a first. I had a short Tanto, though. Loved it. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Actually, I had the Cold Steel Master Tanto before I had the K-bar, and you could go either way. But I'm with you in being with me in saying, yes, get the Tanto first. Knives Collector 41, good to have you here, Brent. Hello, gentlemen and ladies. Good to have you here, sir, as always. Manny Z, good to have you here as well. I've got a fully serrated Cold Steel Black Talon 2 by the pillow. That is a great pillow knife. That is an outstanding pillow knife because you don't need any distance, because it is purely clawing motion, and that's a great knife. And that S-shaped blade and that pokey tip and the robustness of the blade, whereas the Civilian by Spyderco, which has that same S-curve blade, is not as robust. You break that off like that. But anyway, I've disemboweled myself in my sleep on at least 3 occasions. I just keep coming back against my... Damn, Walt, please take my advice. Be careful. Be careful. Blade Freak says, no, I would not use the tracker, laughing my ass off. That's funny. Okay. All right. So it's a weird, it's okay. John says, Bob, knife related question. Would you be prepared if gravity reversed itself? I don't know. I'd have a lot of knives up in the air, and a couple of them are open. Knife related question. Would you be prepared if gravity reversed itself? Honestly, no, I would not. I'd be absolutely screwed if gravity reversed itself. But I'm curious as to why in relation to knives. Is it because I have knives out in the open here and all over my desk? Judson says, not disappointed. Thanks for the response. Okay. You're welcome. I think either way, you won't be disappointed, but get the K-bar. Greg, good to have you here. Greg Ortiz has joined us. Good to have you here. Sean, Cold Steel Recon Tanto is a milestone knife, in my opinion. I really like that knife. Of course, to me, the Master Tanto, the first one, the original one, is the one that I always love because it's also hollow ground, which to me is awesome. Makes it really, really a razor blade. But the Recon Tanto I gave my brother for being my best man, and then I had it for a while and gave it to a good friend of mine who teaches long range shooting, who I know loves Tantos, and I knew that he needed he got a new range bag and a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, he needs a new knife for his new range bag. My pillow knife, Incognito says, my pillow knife is the Condor Undertaker Bowie. I love that thing, which is my future bike knife. Then my new pillow knife will be the Cold Steel OSS. Two great choices. The Condor Undertaker I really wanted for a long time, and I never ended up getting it. I love the multi-pin coffin-shaped handle, and the blade itself is gorgeous. I know some people complained about how tight the leather sheath fit was when it first came out, but shit, I'm sure that is something that wears right in. And the OSS, you know how I feel about sub-hilt fighters. The OSS lives on top of my fridge, and this lives right here next to me. I love the sub-hilt. Sub-hilts are awesome. The guys at Shredder say, I agree. A K-bar would be a great first fixed blade. A Buck 119 would also be great. I agree with you. The Buck 119 is great, and it's kind of in a weird way, kind of like the civilian version of the K-bar, if you know what I mean. It's been around a long time, probably longer than the K-bar, but it's something that a lot of people had because it could be had from a hardware store, and you go hunting and you take that with you. I think the 119 would be an excellent first knife choice, first fixed blade choice. Spider Guy, good to have you here, Spider Guy. My guilty pleasure knife is a Greg Lightfoot Element Custom. I just had that out as one of my guilty pleasure knives. Where the hell did I put it? Did you take it from me? This is weird. Oh, here it is. Nichols, Integra Damascus, and Timascus scales. That's what I'm talking about. So Spider Guy is describing this knife by Greg Lightfoot, except done how Greg Lightfoot normally does it, which is, just with incredible flourish, with ornate and precious materials like Timascus and Damascus. I kind of begged him to dumb it down for me, and he did. But if I were to get a fancily, if that's a word, patterned knife from anyone, it would be from him. That guy, man, follow him on Instagram, Greg Lightfoot, and look at his handles. Oh my God, they're amazing. I mean, for me, this blade is great. I love it. It's great tactical sort of, the kind of knife that you don't really use. I don't use it anyway. But it is a great, and I mean, he's an awesome grinder and all that stuff. But his handles are just outrageous. Anyway, Spider Guy, I feel an affinity towards you. Nicely done, sir. Nicely done. Sean M, $4.99. Thank you, Sean. Greatly appreciated, man. Everyone's being generous tonight. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for that, I'm going to highlight yet another guilty pleasure knife. Which one? Well, we were talking about Bowies. This isn't a guilty pleasure. This was a gift, but it was a directed gift, meaning I asked for it and got it. Ninth Chamber 945 is the mini. Oh, 940. Okay, it's the mini 940. Got you. Thank you, sir. This Bowie is just awesome. I was gonna say bomb diggity, but I'm not that old. So this thing is just incredible. This is the V44 Bowie by Bark River Knives. It's got a this is called a Moran style handle after Bob Moran, the knife maker, and I love it. The contouring is just beautiful. They do this with woods and with micartas, and basically it's a stick tang, inserted to, I don't know, somewhere in here, and then it's epoxied and pinned, and maybe it's not as well. It's definitely not as strong as a full tang, and maybe it's not as strong as a tang that comes all the way down here and screws at the pommel, but probably it's fine. Probably for the sandbar style knife fights I'll be getting in with this, it'll be fine. I'm not going to take it out and bang on it, though I know you can bang the hell out of these things. I know Chris Tanner of Prepared Mind 101 had this knife with this handle. I think his was black micarta, but he tests and experiments and does some serious work with his tests. And that's what I rely on. I rely on other people to test the knives. It's like choir boys testing the Shining Mountain Bowie. I was like, okay, I'm glad I bought that knife because I know it can withstand a lot, but I'm not going to put mine through those paces. I don't know. I guess I should. Maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe I'd feel less guilty about having these guilty pleasure knives. Tracker is too heavy for long days in the woods. Yeah. Too weird, right? I mean, isn't it weirdly shaped? I know, like this straight part here is like a pole blade or whatever those two-handled blades are that you pull to make planks, and right here it's kind of like an axe, and right here it's kind of like a saw. Well, it's kind of like a bunch of stuff, but a knife. Monster says, I was watching a video Demolition Ranch put out with Kentucky Ballistics, and Matt had a Benchmade Griptilian with a half-serrated blade, and Scott, Kentucky Ballistics, pulled out a full-sized Medford. Don't you love that? It's like, yeah, I love that. What did I see recently with? Oh, True Detective. Bunch of great knives on True Detective, but that was a while ago, and I think I exhausted that. Talked about that ad nauseum, but I love it when you see a, your favorite knife on TV, and you're like, that prop master knew what they were doing. Yeah. I'm not even going to go there. Okay. Monster says, continue like Bob's that he showed earlier. See, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about because it's like just in and out. It's like a sieve right here. Hollywood Tactical says, still no Bark River yet. Would love to get one into the collection. Okay, so Hollywood, even if you don't have a Bark River, do you have a convex ground knife? It seems like something you probably have. You seem to be a bit of an intellectual in the knife thing, so I feel like you probably have a convex ground knife. I'd be interested to know. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Guilty pleasure knives. I have a couple of others here, but first, before I keep showing these things off, I want to show you a new knife that I got. Hey, Blade Freak, how's it going, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I had so much fun last week. I had to come back.
Well, welcome, man. So what? We're talking about guilty pleasure knives. What do you have?
Well, I could just show off my Bowie. That's what everyone seems to have as their guilty pleasure. But I think I like, how small my folder collection is. I have two XM18s.
Oh.
So that obviously, to have two of them in an 8 collection.
Seems indulgent to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. This one's been in my pocket ever since I got it, I think.
So is that a tri-way without a flipper tab?
Yes.
How does it work?
Good. So surprise, and I will put the washers in there.
Okay.
But it still has the stop. So I'm kind of second. That's the only reason why I would put washers in.
Why?
Because the blade stops, so I don't slam it down on my thumb.
Oh, okay.
So it still has a little tab in there to catch on your thumb.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice.
And then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, where'd you get that?
Secondary market. So this is actually I got it at full market price, but that's still a steal right now, I'd say, for a Hinderer.
Yeah.
But it's DLC, not Battle Black, so it actually makes it kind of rare.
Oh, yeah.
That's Battle Black.
So the Battle Black is tumbled once it's coated, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I've been in a big hinderer phase lately. Not a phase, but I've been carrying them an awful lot.
They're just solid. Yeah.
Hey Brent, how you doing? Speaking of hinderers, how you doing,
gosh.
man?
So, how's it
My
going?
Hinder collection feels insignificant.
I'm thinking of.
Well, yeah, if you want to say that. I mean,
Oh God.
Jesus. So what's new with you, man? It's good to see you.
oh, pretty much not much. Been cleaning my knives lately, all of them, pretty much.
So since you started stepping out on Rick and checking out other makers like like Jake Hoback and who did you have last time you were here? You had something brand new. Have you, in all seriousness, have you gotten rid of any of your hinderers?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, and if you're in that mood,
nope.
Right of first refusal, please, because like I was just saying, man, I've been digging my hinderers lately, and I'm feeling the itch. I'd love to have a slicer. I don't have a slicer. I bet you're going to show me one. That's beautiful, man.
Oh, one more. Hold on.
All right. So, oh yeah, that's nice. Oh, that's really nice, man.
That's the Jurassic.
Yeah. All right. So we were just talking about guilty pleasures. Brent, do you have a guilty pleasure knife around?
Well, the only guilty pleasure knife that I have is probably my my battlefield pickup, which these are very rare to come by.
Wait, what is it?
Battlefield pickup. This is Hinder's interpretation of, like, if he left it out in the field, it looks more like.
Oh, fuck, that's cool. Yeah, that is awesome, man.
Yeah, they're very rare to come by.
I love it. Is that an 18 or a 24?
That's an 18. I wish it was a 24. That would be sick.
Man. So that's your guilty pleasure. Does it bring you guilt because you spent a lot of money on it, or does it bring you guilt because it's so utterly unnecessary?
No, it's just my hobby, and I love collecting them, and I don't really just say that, but in a way. But I mean, I've been looking for the right brand for a long time, and Hinder has shown that these are way good knives. Rick is very nice to people, unlike Greg Medford. I'm sorry, the people that love Medford knives.
He's a bit of a dick, but that's kind of baked in, right?
Yeah.
He's a self-aware dick, though.
I only have one. I have one of his knives, and I hate it.
Do you hate it because do you hate it because you don't love Greg Medford, or? Oh
no, it's just I don't have the insinuate. I don't know what that one is. The infraction. Yeah, that's the infraction. I don't have that one, but I have the embele, which I hate the embele. Wish I never bought it.
Oh, really? Why do you hate it?
Stiff as a board. Never been. Just don't like it.
You know, flip it 3,000 times like a normal.
Yeah, right. I do have to say, like this, my Praetorian, and I had a slim midi. Those two knives, and then I got a few from Dirk, as I mentioned earlier, on loan. And I gotta say, man, they are some of the most ultra smooth knives in the hydraulic sense, quote unquote hydraulic sense. You know what I mean? And this I have to say is one of them. Plus, with this big giant honking blade, it's kind of ridiculous looking, actually, but this thing cuts amazingly. It's hollow ground. This short little grind is hollow, and it becomes incredibly super thin at the edge.
So yeah, this thing I measured mine at 18 thousandths.
Wow,
that's the thinnest one I have.
I gotta say, I love the look of that thing too, man. I love that knife.
One. I mean, I love my Unimsan, right? But
yeah,
this thing's smoother than the Unimsan.
pretty nice.
No, he didn't.
I did.
Emailed Hinderer twice about the detent. 0 responses. Oh, Christopher, what was wrong with the detent? Did I miss a comment before? What was wrong with your Hinderer detent? I'm curious about that. Like, for instance, with my 24 or my XM18 here, this is a tri-way, and there's no way on earth I could slow roll this thing out unless I give it an assist, with the flipper.
How long have you had it?
This one I've had this for I don't know, about 2 years, I'd say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine. I can. Let's see.
Here's my first browse blades.
Oh, nice.
I can slow roll mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I can. Well, and that's another thing though that I really like about the fuller. I mean, you slow roll the fuller.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's super easy. And then the flick, it's just mindless.
It's just so.
I like mindless knives.
Yeah, how do you like it? How do you like it without the flipper tab? Does that feel better in hand?
Actually though, because I love my Bowie and I've carried it a ton.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where I pull this one out of my pocket and I ghost flip it. Yeah, that happens.
What are you doing there, Brent?
Just trying to slow roll something.
Oh,
I'm trying to get the thing. It's like.
Is that the envolée?
Yeah.
Have you tried dropping just a couple drops of oil in there?
I did everything I could. I mean.
Oh, you drop oil in there. Greg Medford will find you and he'll come kick your ass for doing that.
Well, you know what? I even thought about, making a video, sitting this inside of a stump and just shooting it, saying, "Here you go."
Hey, Jake, good to have you here. Jake, happy Thursday, sir. Happy Thursday to you, man. He's burning it up with his own knife design. How cool is that? I love that. Scott N. Hinderer question.
Ooh.
Is the stop pin thumb stud press fit or what holds it in? Mine is sliding
They're
out.
press fitted. They're press fitted.
I got news for you, Scott. Your Hinderer was made in China, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Hey, I don't know who that was that just put that up, but
that was Scott N.
Scott, here's the thing, dude. Call the Hinderer Ranch, tell them what happened, and tell them that Brant told you to do it because, yeah.
See that? Making connections right here on Thursday Night Knives. You tell them Brant sent you.
They'll know who I am. They'll say, yeah.
They're like that guy.
They probably don't, because it's been a while since,
he keeps telling us what to do with our detent.
Well, some of mine, I mean, the only detent I have bad on mine is my fire tack, is this one.
What do you think of the fire tack?
I love it. This is the 2018 version. Mm-hmm. This is the older one. And I love it. It's very slim, more slimmer than XM18, but yeah, he came out with these, and when he brought them out, it was like, whoa, what's next?
Okay, wait, hang on. So Ian just said hashtag Brant sent me, so I like that. I like that. But I always thought that the fire tack would be one of these knives that when I got it in hand, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is awesome. But just looking at it, it's pretty vanilla to me. And I'm thinking of every other Hinderer design right now is more interesting. Every other one.
Well, believe it or not, I don't know if you know, but the fire tack was one of his first models that he's made.
Exactly.
And when he first came out with this, it was 20-something years, probably 16 years ago. And when he brought it out, he decided, he's like, new model coming out in 2018, and I was like, oh boy, what's it going to be? When I saw this, I was like, finally, I can get one.
I hear you. DJ says, love my fire tack. detent is great, and the drop shot is amazing.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, maybe here's the thing, though. I do want another Hinderer, but I'm afraid I'd have to get something else before the fire attack. I don't know.
My unpopular opinion on that subject.
Well, here's something that y'all don't know. Rick's making another folder pretty soon, so I'm excited for that.
That'd be cool.
So, Knife Freak, what's your opinion? What's your unpopular opinion?
Drop shut does not belong on a non-flipper knife.
That is true.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean,
okay, let me tell you why I like that. It's because it's weirdly particular, and I have a bunch of knife rules too. I don't necessarily agree with this one.
So far this would be the only exception because it still has a tab.
Oh, that's why you're saying for a practical reason. Okay.
Practical. I'm a practical person. Remember?
Okay, that's right. That's right. You're practical. Let me see. Here.
Oh, that's a good question. Sorry.
What's that? How the heck don't I own a hinderer? Suggestions for a first buy. Let me be the first to say get an XM18. That's all I got to say.
Really,
Go ahead,
my first suggestion is an Eclipse.
Get an XM18 because these are your starters right here. These right here, your very first starters.
Get it in black G10. Make sure it's black G10. Spear point.
You can do whatever. This is
Stonewatch not working finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get something like maybe like nothing like this style or.
God, that's nice.
I do recommend the Eclipse though over the XM for a personal.
Well, here, you know what?
Hey, DJ says XM18 regular or skinny or Eclipse. Between the regular or the skinny, what do you say?
Regular.
Depends
on what you use it for. I mean, people like slicey. I don't know. I've never had an issue with my thick knives. So.
Oh crap!
Don't put those away, Brant. But I have to agree with you, Blade Freak. I too prefer the regular size. I don't need it to be skinny, and I definitely don't need the fatty either. Bob just called the Fire Attack vanilla. This happened just a moment ago.
I honestly think Rick Hinder would agree with that statement, and I think he would do it.
Probably. I think he would because Rick is one of the best, one of my favorites.
I thought Bob would like the Fire Attack because he likes Emerson's and Terzuola's. Well, here's the thing, I do, and actually, I've been tempted by the Fire Attack, especially when they put that ever so subtle recurve in it and called it the recurve Fire Attack. I liked that one, and
you talking about this?
Yeah, I'm talking about that. That's the one that I was like,
I would like a Tanto Fire Attack.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That's what I would wait for. Yeah.
But yeah, I do like it. But okay, so what I'm going to talk about there, put that back up. Sorry. The harpoons. I just don't get it. I don't get the harpoons.
You know what it's for practically.
I do.
It is literally a perfect spot for your pointer finger.
Oh, I see.
It really is. It's a perfect pointer finger spot. And the Bowie too. But when I had a ZT0392 with the harpoon, this is just the Bowie, but it was perfect. I'm sure actually show his screen real quick. I think he's got you got a harpoon out there. You can show the finger rest. Yep.
That's pretty much. This is the full size version.
I mean, I understand that putting the harpoon there allows you to have a higher grind on the main bevel while still having a swedge. So it does add a little extra metal, and it makes it, I guess, a little more penetrative.
It looks cool too. Come on.
Yeah, that's what to me it does not look cool. That's why to me it's like, oh, if it doesn't look cool, how could it serve a purpose? Chris says got a Hinderer XM18 3.5 Spanto afterwards, but the Tanto is technically not a Tanto to me.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably because it used to be probably a Tanto, made it into a Spanto.
Oh.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think he's talking about how the Spanto tries to be a Tanto, but it's not quite.
I do actually, Cobra. It's just I don't own a full tie yet. I'm still trying to get one.
Blade Freak, I agree with you. I I think it doesn't achieve that in the production version for two reasons. First of all, is it doesn't have the secondary point up by the tip, obviously, but it doesn't have a hollow grind, and I feel like it's got to have a hollow grind for the main grind, and then the flat grind for the.
I mean,
for the
you
wedge
could easily put one on. BGM, just send it over to BGM.
That's exactly what I did, except I sent mine to Razor Edge. But I might just send this over to BGM to get this hollow ground. I think this would make a wicked hollow ground knife.
Yep. And I've wanted to try, I'm not going to buy a Spyderco because I don't think I would like it either. But I'm almost positive you could sharpen that as a regular Tanto.
I think so.
Yeah.
Nuz, got to get to work, fellas. Again, sorry for being anti-social. You're not being antisocial. Thank you for joining us, man. Good to have you here, as always, and have a great night, and work hard. Be the best, whatever you do.
You work hard, you nap hard. That's what I always say, Jack.
Work hard, nap hard. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Holy crap.
A beautiful BGM bow.
I looked back in my chat and I know the blade's still in. It's a ADCR
V.
ADCR V. Yeah.
God, that's beautiful, man. I do really like the shape of that blade, and with that fuller, it's so nice.
Yeah, I use it. It's got patina going on.
Yeah.
Despite the acid wash. So. Yeah.
Awesome knife.
I guess that's a guilty pleasure too, because I don't need it.
Oh my God. Yeah, man.
It works, but I don't need it.
Everything on the table before me, except for this case peanut, is a guilty pleasure. What is the flipper you have there? Is that the Areria? What the hell did they call it? What's it called?
You mean this?
Yes, that.
The Navy.
Oh, Navy. Yes, of course.
It's a Valley song.
Yeah. It's that's the hinderer. I think it's beautiful. I love it, but I for some reason thought it began with an A. That's what I was like. Oh, nice, very nice. So let me show you something quickly that I got sent by Off Grid Knives.
Ooh, I've been wanting to try out their knives.
Yeah, man, I like their knives a lot. So I got this in the mail today. This is the Off Grid. It's called the Backcountry at Coyote because it's in Coyote Tan. But I love this blade shape. Actually, I love it so much that after my interview with Kerry of Off Grid Knives, my dad was like, "I really like that guy. I want to buy you a knife from him." I was like, "Okay, cool. Get me a yeah." I was like, "Get me a Backcountry." So I already had this black one, and then Kerry sent me this, and it's a great opportunity to compare and contrast because this older one has a really nice hollow grind. This one has a very nice saber grind. I do always prefer the hollow grind, though this is meant to be an outdoors knife. In being called the Backcountry, I always thought it should be the back alley, as I mentioned before, because to me it looks more like a fighting knife.
Yeah, it definitely looks more like a fighting knife. I'm not gonna lie.
Doesn't it? Yeah. But Kerry's an outdoorsman, so I'll take him at his word.
Yeah. I mean,
but who knows? Maybe he's got a secret career, knife fighting, back alley.
Over there, isn't
Yeah. So yeah, but interesting. Also, they did different textures on the handles. You got this sort of Anzo pattern here, and then here you've got the sort of hexagonal honeycomb pattern, and a bit of contouring.
I think I would prefer the honeycomb. Do you?
Yes, I do. I do actually. Yeah. They both work well. They both feel good, but the honeycomb actually, they both feel unoffensive, but the honeycomb actually feels good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They come with great sheaths. These things are cool. And who mentioned the 119 before? Was it maybe the Buck 119? Maybe that was Professor EDC. But to me, now this is Bob's dad is awesome. Agreed. Thank you. I agree. Maybe this is a weird comparison, but hold on with me. Love those scallop knife handles. Yeah, it does feel good. This reminds me of the Buck 119 in that the handle is wide. Like you look at this, right? And I don't know. To me, it seems like the handle should be thinner, as I was mentioning earlier. Though 119 always struck me that way too. It's just a big handled knife.
Hand filling.
Yeah, really hand filling. And, I've got medium-sized hands. They're not small, but they're not big, giant mitts. But this is pushing it. To me, this is like, and that's another reason why, to me, this feels more like a tactical knife. It feels really good in this sort of saber grip or like choked up like this.
There you go. Yeah, that looks good.
But I guess you could use that grip for outdoor stuff too. I don't know. I guess it's all the same. But anyway, so there you have it. Check out these off-grid knives. They're so cool. And they're designed by Kerry Orifice out in California. He has them made by Best Tech. And then his premium, he has a premium knife called the Scorpion. That's made by We Knives. That's a really nice one too. They do cool stuff.
Is that a sharpened top edge?
No. Shouldn't it be though? Yes, I agree. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I want to see there.
You definitely could. Oh wait, that's a little thick, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a chunk there.
Okay.
Yeah. It would take some doing, but it could be done.
This is my bush.
Oh, Brothers of Bushcraft.
Yeah.
I got that same one.
Yep.
That is nice. So is that a well-used knife?
Well used, yeah.
So you do a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of camping, a lot of...
Yep. This is... Yeah, next to my BGM, I probably have hard used this the most.
That's your go-to.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have that, and I have the little friction folder.
Oh, the Topps friction folder.
Not a fan of it.
Yeah.
Send it my way.
Weren't,
Hey guys, since I have two of you here on this screen, would you be interested in debating one another in a great American knife fight? This is a good one. I think you're going to like this topic. So bear with me. It's good action versus good performance. And I know everyone's going to be like, oh, it's good performance, of course, because I use my knives and but I think we need to give some consideration to action, because who has not had the whole deal soured by some poor action? So I think this is a fight that's worthy of having right here in this very public forum.
You got a guy that's willing to shoot a Medford over action. So.
All right. So in that case, let's see, Brant, you're going to be action.
Probably action. Yeah.
Yep.
No,
All right.
I think you should reverse that. He needs to make a case for why he likes his knife.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that. I'll buy that for $1. All right, Brant, you're good performance.
Okay.
All right. But let's Blade Freak, you go first because we're kind of going by your rule here. So you are good action, meaning that good action is superior to good performance. Okay. And I need you to argue that in 3, 2, 1.
Knife action. It's probably the most important thing in a knife. If you think about it, when you buy a knife, it's the first thing you do is open it. It's first impression. So as a maker, you're going to focus on action first. But in use, you think about how many times you play with your knives. How many times do you flip and play with your knife compared to use it? I would say the average knife guy flips their knife probably 100 times to 1 in use. So for percentage of use type, knife action is the most important. See,
Very nice. All right. All right, Brent. It's all you, buddy. Come on. Bring it out for performance.
The good performance in a knife is got to have, if it cuts well, and if it cuts extremely well, different, doesn't care what kind of steel it is. You got to have good performance, good agility, good everything. And yeah. Oh no, that's all I know.
Oh man, that was an appalling performance. But I applaud your effort. I'm just kidding you, man. I would agree with you that
well, all knives are good. I mean, they're good performance.
Knife's got to cut, and not only that, but most of the time, despite what I'd like to believe, and despite what many of us would like to believe, most of the time the steel does not make much of a difference at all, unless you're cutting all day long, repetitive tasks and stuff like that. Then it'll start to matter. But for our purposes, most of our purposes, doesn't matter. Hollywood Tactical says, I have way too many knives to worry about performance. I get several for performance, then multitudes of others purely for action and flickability. Yeah.
I don't think he's alone there.
Oh man, the brutal honesty. I love how people bare their souls on this show. That's what it's all about, people. Yeah, when I was thinking about this, I was like, well, clearly performance is more important. And I'm like, yeah, but the way I see it is action kind of is performance too.
Yeah.
Because if it's a drag to use and every time I open it up, I'm going to be going somewhere else. I'm going to be going for a carpet knife or something like that, Well, Blade Freak, you must own a Kershaw Cryo, says Sean M.
I must. No.
That's a Hinder model. That's a Hinder.
Oh, Hinder. Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't. Is that? I think that might be one of the ones that my buddy bought though, and that's who I live vicariously through in the $100 sub range.
Greg says, if I don't
snobbish, but
no, I get you. If I don't like opening it, I'm not going to use it. Yeah, well, I agree with you there, Greg, but also just in that, like lately, I've been watching a bunch of Civivi videos, and I'm like, I should get a whole bunch of Civivis, and I'm like, man, don't do it. Only, and the reason I say that to myself, I'm not saying it to anyone else. I'm saying it to me because I know that I will always opt to carry a Civivi, and just to have it to play with it because it looks cool and it probably is fun to play with is not good enough. So that means I'm maturing ever so slowly, and someday I'll be able to control these.
I think every knife that I carry has to have obviously I need it to be smooth and all that stuff, and cut well, but it's got to have some kind of personality.
Exactly.
Every one of them does. So yeah, that's big. That's probably up there. That'd be equal to action for me, or performance.
Yeah, character.
Most knives that you pick up will perform. So
yeah, exactly. DJ said Civivi should send me knives. I agree, DJ. If you have strings to pull there, pull them, please. All right, guys. I think that's it for me. It's almost midnight on the East Coast, and I really appreciate you guys coming on and doing the blade fighting for me, so I didn't have to do it on my own. Make sure you guys join us on Sunday for episode 250 of the Knife Junkie podcast. I speak with Jonathan Caruso of Lead Lil Knives. Now, Jonathan Caruso was winner of season 6, episode 24, I believe it was, of Forged in Fire, and he made this awesome boar sword. So it's like a big long, it's a sword, double-handed sword with a spear shaft and then a big wavy shaped blade, and it's for killing boar. But he's a guy that I met at Blade Show while hanging out and talking with the maker of this, Matt Chase. And so we have a great conversation. That's on Sunday. Make sure you check there. Also, check in on Wednesday for the midweek supplemental, where I talk about new knives, etc., etc. And thank you, Monster. Appreciate it. Damn best channel on the tube. I appreciate that, DJ. And also stay tuned. More close-up videos of knives are coming. I've got a whole bunch of them I got to make videos of. So a lot of cool stuff coming. Until then, thank you guys so much for joining us. And thank you, Blade Freak. Thank you, Knives Collector 41. Always a pleasure seeing your faces and having knife conversation. And my pleasure. My pleasure, man. So for Jim, behind the switcher, working his magic, I'm Bob saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.